Minister didn't want to pay or not pay. He didn't want to explain what was going on with his private companies, and he should be in a exclusivity in the position of prime minister. And the opposition was not taking his light explanations. So with the motion of confidence that was not passed in the parliament, no other option could exist apart from going into elections. In my view, the option would be for the prime minister to step down, and another one from the party that was voted, that is in power, that has the majority, should vote for a new prime minister. This would be the constitutional and legal solution that would be available for everyone. But the prime minister didn't want it, the ruling party didn't want it, and now we're going into new elections, and this is not good, unfortunately. On the upper side, good news. Well, all this rain has filled up all our dams, and we have now the capability of sustaining 3 years in a row of hard drought.
Right.
So it's on one end bad news, on the other end good news. So let's have let's take the rain into good terms, although not that common in Portugal. I'm happy to have the dams filled.
It's funny, isn't it? And you've almost done all my news for me this evening. So
sorry.
No. It's better that an expert does it. It really is. But there you are. We'll come back to the dams in just a moment and this strange weather. Apparently the wettest year for some 30 years. But yeah, Parliament votes for new government in Portugal. And as you said, the President of the Republic, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, announced that elections will take place on the 18th of May after the Council of State. So there you go. 18th of May, a date for your diary. And what Daniel said about all of that and how Portuguese people feel about it. I think in a poll, 70% of the Portuguese people didn't want to have this happen. And as you pointed out, there are better ways perhaps of dealing with it. But that's what we've got, right? An election on the 18th of May, as if we didn't have enough going on in the world at the moment. Do you have any sort of predictions about what might happen at that point? Because some people think that that's another opening for more Shager representation. What's your prognosis there, Daniel?
It's hard to tell. Ethically, I don't think that this prime minister has the conditions to carry on.
Right.
Elections do not clean or do not create a clean slate in terms of the ethics behind of what happened. Mm-hmm. So the solution politically is going to new elections, but I don't think that this guy will have a new clean slate if he wins.
Right.
But if the opposition wins, I don't think that they will win with a sound enough majority that will allow political stability. So I'm afraid that we might be talking about elections in a year from now. That's basically it.
Seriously?
Yeah, eventually we'll have a situation like Belgium, that they were having elections upon elections upon elections, and we may find ourselves in a situation like that. And this is the breeding ground for extreme parties. So
yeah, right.
I do hope that the center, where usually the majority of people do lie in Portugal, does come to terms that this stability is needed, and having elections every year is not good. And a democracy is way more than elections. Elections are of course important, but other stuff is relevant for democracy. And all time, every day, us going to polls, it's not something that the Portuguese people would like. We would want stability for the 4 years of the term.
I could have moved to Italy for that sort of thing, couldn't I? Not Portugal. Right, okay. All right. Thank you very much for your expert analysis there. Talking of presidents, I think this chap, and of course he was in charge of the vaccination rollout here during the pandemic period in Portugal. He seems to be favourite. There are other characters. Andre Ventura himself, I think, he's put himself forward as a presidential candidate. And the other political commentator, I believe, who was saying about the current political situation, it was like we had enough trouble already, and this was just like having a bath with an electric toaster. I think he's one of the other presidential candidates. He's probably a little bit too cynical maybe to be a rounded character that we need as the father of the parliament. Is that the right way of putting it? Like the father figure of the country, the president, with the checks and balances and knocking the heads of the politicians together. Is that the role so that us foreigners can understand it?
Yeah, I would say so. The Portuguese president does have a lot of power in Portugal, especially because he can basically call elections, and he is, if he is a proeminent figure in Portugal, he is indeed a figure that the parties will speak with, and that will try to be the father of the country politically in terms of a direction to take and stabilizing the political system. So. The guy that was a political commentator, Mark Schminch, he is probably regretting that he announced going forward into the presidency, and because with these new elections now we will need to step down for a few months, and probably is he will lose traction. This guy that we're seeing here, Gouveia Melo, he was smart enough to wait a little bit more, and now we will not present his position forward because he wants to wait for the elections. And André Ventura is rethinking about his position on going for the job of the president because of these elections. So the elections changed, or the elections for the parliament changed not only the parliament but the elections for the president. So interesting times that we'll see in the next upcoming months. And this guy, he is, we'll call it a kinder surprise, because we don't know if he is in
Right.
the center, left, or right. We just know that he was a military, and he coordinated the vaccination process here in Portugal, and the thing went well. But apart from that, we don't know any of his political positions and what he thinks about the role of being president in Portugal. So a kinder surprise for sure.
Wow, that is interesting, and it begs the question: if he's the father, if the president is the father of the nation, who is the mother? Presumably, Mary, Maria, would be the spiritual mother
Yes,
of the.
go to Fatima and ask for Mother Mary, and pray for her,
Yes,
and
and in
pray
good
for
hands.
Portugal as well.
In good hands, absolutely. And on a lighter note, just to finish on the news stories here, Coimbra will host from the 20th to the 23rd of March this year a Portugal Happiness Summit. So I think that's quite a good balance compared to everything else we've been talking about. Full dams as well, of course, as Daniel mentioned. But look at that, a capital of happiness. That's Coimbra, not only the academic capital and one of the oldest, if not the oldest, university in Europe, also vying to be a capital of happiness with a multidisciplinary event that aims to discuss the importance and meaning of happiness in different areas of life. So still a philosophical representation here in Portugal, as well as a political one. It's good to see that. And despite everything that's going on, Standard and Poor, who make judgments on these things, and Steve Flack, I'm sure will know about Standard and Poor here from Spartan FX tonight, said on Wednesday that the early elections will not have an impact on the rest of Portugal's macroeconomic profile, highlighting the fiscal trajectory remains on the right track. So that's, I think, good to hear, because many people were thinking, the bankers were saying this is not good. The election will cause a problem for Portugal's standing around the world in terms of stability. So Standard and Poor are happy about that. And I think on that note, if I just close the news pages there, and we'll start with Steve tonight from Spartan FX. Standard and Poor have got us down for a good future. Other things are going on in the world, though, Steve, that's affecting, I think, fluctuations in currency and volatility in your department.
Yeah.
How are you this evening?
So a certain person
Yes, a one-man shake-up of
is
volatility.
making a lot of the headlines.
Go ahead. What's happening in your
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think I even need to say his name, but yeah, it's yeah. So Mr. Trump is having he seems to be moving markets all by himself. A lot of that is, with the sorry, with the tariffs that he's looking to
Yes.
things like that, which is obviously causing a lot of issues. Also, I was talking to a colleague the other day, and we feel that doing, and with a weaker dollar, people will buy more from America. So we sort of feel like he's sort of doing that at the moment. That might mean, look, we are surmising a little bit there,
Yeah.
but it does look that sort of, that way. But I mean, look, it has made some quite big volatility. You could see the euro strengthen in recent, like soon, if we see the peace talks go the way that that Mr. Trump wants as well, you could see the dollar weaken and the euro strengthen on the back of that, which is obviously not good for many of our American plus clients that we have. So yeah, it's quite an interesting time at the moment.
Absolutely. And to take the stress out of the situation, a call to you is not a bad idea, right, Steve? If people are getting a bit stressed about the exchange rates and missing out on certain positions, I think you can, to some extent, obviously you can't, there's only so much you can do, but you can help with different strategies, help put people's minds at rest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends on, I always say this to my clients, look, we've got two types of clients in my eyes. We have gamblers and we have non-gamblers. Some people they look at it and they go, look, I want my currency locked in now. I want to know where I stand and things like that. Obviously, we can do that. You can do that with a full contract as well. So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. But then we do others that are gamblers and they're ready to wait and see what's going on in the world and see if they can get, a bit more for their money. It's all thing, but look, we're always here to give our opinions and try and put you on the right track.
All right, thanks, Steve. We haven't got the best of lines with you this evening. We might continue our communication in the chat. So if you do have questions about currency, and if you haven't already opened a SpineFX account, which is it's free to do so, you can contact Steve in the chat, and we'll make sure that happens. And of course, you can find SpineFX in the Expats Portugal Business Directory as well. For the time being, thanks for that analysis, Steve. Much appreciated. Just mixing things up a bit tonight. Let's go to João Amaral. I see, João, we've got an electric. I know we have interesting conversations with you about electric vehicles. I don't think you're the biggest fan. However, news up in the north of Portugal for an electric vehicle production plant, I think, came out this week.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good to see you. Tudo bem?
So, I think you are not right, Carl.
Oh,
I'm a fan of electric, but I think they are not for all people and every use. Okay,
right. Forgive me.
I have nothing against electric cars. Okay, so the production of the Volkswagen ID1, it's very good news to Portugal, to Setúbal, and it will be a mass production car, electric car, in Portugal, and that is very good news. Very good news. Okay.
Great. Forgive me. I don't know where I got that impression from, but I'm glad you put me right on that. And yes,
so just because when people say that the electric is the future, okay, I understand that the electric is the future, but the ICE engines are the future as well, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you for that clarification. Do you think that with this production in Portugal, we're going to end up with a much more affordable electric car for the Portuguese public, or will the government continue to put this big tax on nonetheless, undermining the effect of having this local production plant?
Now we have almost no taxation on electric cars, okay?
Of course,
and
yeah.
we have incentives, okay, to buy electric cars. We don't have taxes that ICE cars have,
right?
But when the electric cars are an expressive number in the market, the government will find a way to tax more the electric cars. Okay, so this is Portugal. This is taxes. Portugal and taxes are together, so they will find a way.
Yes, very well put. Okay, that makes complete sense. All right, but for the time being, a very good opportunity for Portugal to have VW making electric cars in Setúbal, you said?
Yeah. In Auto Europa factory, in near Setúbal, in Palmela. It is very good for that area to have more jobs and things like that.
Very good.
They not only produce the car, but they produce components for the car. They produce components for that car and for cars that are not done in Portugal, for other countries as well. So it's very good news to have that car made in Portugal.
Excellent. Anything else from you from the world of motor cars?
In news, I'm very satisfied that Tesla is breaking the sales. Okay, I'm very, very happy with that. I know that are people that buy the cars are trying to sell it just because of the owner of the company. I think it's a very wise way to put the things, because he is completely nuts, and I can't believe that.
A very personal view tonight, then, about it.
No, I can't understand how people can buy cars from a company that has that CEO. It's almost impossible. And the world is understanding that sales are dropping in US, in Europe, and other countries. So for me, it's good.
Okay, well,
the news are very good from
not
Tesla.
necessarily an automotive piece of news there, but a personal opinion on
a personal opinion, and it's not just an opinion, it's based on data. Okay,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, sales seem to be crashing there. Does that mean there are Tesla bargains then, Joao? Does that mean you can pick up a Tesla much cheaper than you used to be able to in Portugal?
I think they will drop the price. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Even new. I think Musk will drop the price to recover the sales.
Very interesting.
I think that will happen very soon.
Okay. Anything else from the ICE world, perhaps?
No, just one thing for the people that are listening to us and looking for a car. I have received many mails now from Expats members, referring websites like I think is carros.com,
yeah,
and auto.pt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, be careful, because those websites are completely fraud. If you see a car, if you find a car that is almost half the price of the other ones that you have seen before, okay, don't believe it. It's impossible. Okay, you can see a car 1,000 or 2,000 more or less, but half the price, it's impossible. So please be careful. There are many sites that you can search the cars to see the models in Portugal, to see prices. Okay, you can talk with me, but you can also see websites like Stand Virtual, Pisca Pisca, OLX, Custo Justo. Okay, those are the websites that are good. Okay, be careful with other sites that shows cars many too cheap. Okay,
so the old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Joao. Before we finish with you, I'm proud to say that I'm going to be test driving the new Renault 5. It was one of my first cars as a petrol engine, and I'll be trying the electric version, which is pretty funky, I've got to say. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You like it?
Renault.
Okay.
I think they put it all right.
They've nailed it. Car. And some nice colors too. Nice colors. Okay. If you need to talk to Joao about cars, what was that one you mentioned? I've never heard of that. Pisca Pisca.
Pisca Pisca. It's a website like Stand Virtual.
Okay.
It's more or less the same.
Interesting name as well. Pisca Pisca. Okay, very good. Thanks, Joao. If you've got any questions about buying a car in Portugal or you want help, Joao Amaral is here to help us this evening. Let's go to Nuno now. How are you this evening from Winsurance? How's your industry, Nuno?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Well, my industry is pretty steady.
Good.
Nevertheless, we are planning something new, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, on the health insurance world, especially here. So, yeah, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks.
Space.
Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks.
You're teasing us, Nuno, so you've nothing else to say. Just watch this space for the next couple of weeks.
Not now, because we are very careful regarding reading the small letters of the
Okay, yeah,
wording.
fair enough. Okay, mate.
So yeah, everything is going well, and it seems that it's not it's to cover some spaces of the market, also as an additional a reinforcement of the coverage regarding the oncologic disease
Right.
and the robotic medical expenses. So yeah, we'll get back into
I
it.
sense another Winsurance classic coming because you're among the most innovative in the industry, and this could be another contribution in the evolution of insurance here in Portugal.
Yeah, well, I have started on this Monday uh, a course in a Brazilian professional school about innovation and insurtech.
Okay,
So yeah,
right.
I love this. What is not so well is that the class starts on 10 p.m. and it ends about 2 a.m. So
Oh, what? Because you're actually doing it in Brazilian time?
yes.
Incredible. Right. There you go.
Right, right.
Thanks, Nuno. Anything else from insurance and Winsurance?
No, from insurance, no. But regarding the conversation that you had with Danielle Reis,
Yes.
who is the mother, remember that Portugal is an orphan country because the first king has started this country fighting her mother. So and won.
Okay.
And if I need to remember of the mother of Portugal, maybe the baker of Alcobaça,
Yes.
that's slash some Spanish people that tried to conquer Portugal.
Wow. Yeah.
And actually, it was where it's the place where Expats Portugal has organized the last meetup in Alcobaça.
Very good. Yes, of course. We won't get to meet her because that was some time ago. Don't no one needs to be scared unless you're Spanish, of course. And there are various stories about that, aren't there? Like the retreating Spanish said, "Can we hide in your oven?" She said, "Yeah, of course," and then shut the door on them in there. So we've got a really strong like mother, female principal role model right there that Nuno's suggesting. Thank you for that little history lesson there as well. A reminder there, Nuno. Thanks very much for being here. If you've got any questions about insurance, let's go to Nuno on those this evening. Alexandra, good evening to you. Alexandra Pinto from GIR. How are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, very
How
good.
are you all?
It's a busy time here in Portugal, isn't it, with the politics and everything? How's it going in your world of global international relocation?
Well, it's starting to get busier,
Right.
like from March, April, we're gonna start to get into peak season. So every moving either to Portugal or from Portugal outside, it needs to be starting to be organized straight away because it's going to be really, really busy. And then it's harder to get the requested days that we all wanted or the clients wanted. So yeah. Besides the rain, it's been pouring rain for I feel like it's more almost like 3 months now.
I
And
agree with you. It's not
I
funny
just
anymore, is it?
no,
Yeah,
it's enough. It's
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
But
Sugar. Okay, with that. So you have a rhythm to the year when it comes to moving people, and we're going into the peak season now. Do you think that's
yes.
going to change with sort of patterns of immigration, or is that a fairly standard matter?
I think it's a fairly standard matter. Yeah, it's basically from April it starts really strong and then it goes until September, October, and it's get really, really. I think it's the summertime that it gets really, really busy. It's crazy. It's good.
Yes, a good crazy. All right. Of
A
course,
good crazy.
next week's webinar will be with somebody from your pet relocation department. So
Yeah.
that's next Thursday at 7:30. We're finding out about how to move predominantly cats and dogs from around the world into
And
Portugal.
birds as well. And
And
birds as
birds now,
well.
birds as well.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So we'll look forward to that next Thursday. Anything else from you? Any heads ups you want to give to anybody?
Well, besides the news that Daniel already spoke, and besides the weather, I felt like at the moment there is a lot of people. I found that since Trump won the election, I felt like the moves kind of changed quite a little bit. We had from people that wanted to move straight away, like urgently, and they wanted to come to Portugal yesterday.
Yep.
And there are a few people that also came back to US.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So of course,
Yes.
because you manage both directions, don't you? Not just moving
Yes.
people. Yeah. In this
True.
instance, it's all about moving people to Portugal, but so the reverse traffic was also the case for you.
Yeah, I think it's more or less 50-50.
Very interesting. Okay, that's
Yeah,
fascinating to hear, and you can help people in both departments. Thank you very much for
absolutely.
being here. Any
You're
questions
very
about
welcome.
the help you might get from Global International Relocation? Alexandra Pinto is here to do that this evening. This is about questions. This is a town hall. This is the dream team that you're seeing in front of you. So please get those questions into the chat, and we're also welcoming you over on YouTube as well. Good evening to you, Alan, Melissa, and Gina over there. I'll come back to you on YouTube, but please, yeah, pop your questions. Those of you who are members here of Expats Portugal in the chat here, let's go see what's happening over there right now. Our drought-prone California could use some of that rain. Yes, I mean, we can't really exactly put a pipeline into the water because it's already made of water. I don't know. I'm not so sure what the solution is because we were going to have a pipe from the north to the south of Portugal at one point. I'm not sure we can extend as far as California for you, Laronda. Good luck over there with that. This question from the land of on again, off again winter in Edmonton, Canada. I did see this particular story, Farouk. Western Europe's poorest countries is about to oust its government over immigration. This is referring to Portugal in the Telegraph in the UK. I'm going to ask probably you, Daniel, about this. I was first of all offended by this description of Portugal as Western Europe's poorest country, first and foremost. And then they think they've got it all wrong. An influx of digital nomads to Portugal is driving up living costs and fueling the far right. That is just one of those terrible stories, isn't it? That's gone out of hand the further it's gone away from the country. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, we're not the richest country, so that description does fit more or less into what Portugal is.
Right.
In terms of the digital nomads or golden visas or any other thing that has a name, it's easy to just point the finger at. If we see the biggest or the majority of people that migrated to Portugal in the last few years, they did come from EU. French people to retire here, German people to retire here, a lot of Americans, of course, but it's people from all over the world, and not just retirees, not just digital nomads, not just blue-collar people. It was an influx of a lot of people from all over the world that came to Portugal with a different set of motivations, and it's just to pinpoint the lack of habitation on digital nomads, for me, it's daft. It doesn't make any sense.
Agreed.
And I do point the finger to the Portuguese government that they didn't create enough social housing to house low income to medium income people. Because if you do compare the numbers in Portugal compared to the rest of Europe in terms of social housing, we do lag behind quite a lot in terms of the number of social housing available for people. So the view that I have is it's not the blame of digital nomads, and this is just a headline to get people to click on it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Although I do sense a bit of the political opinion or the culture changing in Portugal because of the lack of habitation. People are disgruntled about it, and instead of pointing the finger to the government, they are pointing fingers in any direction, in every direction, which for me is a mistake.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, more houses need to be built, and the government should decrease the taxation on people developing houses. Social habitation should be built as well. and people should consider living outside of the big city centers. And this would be possible if we had better transportation systems. And then again, this is the responsibility of the government. So at least in my personal opinion, I don't point the finger to people that want to live in Portugal. I do understand the reasons. I love living in Portugal. I lived abroad. I lived in the UK. I lived in Brazil. And I do love living in Portugal because it's a safe country. It has really good weather apart from this miserable winter, but this is this is not the norm that we usually have. Well, if you come to help our economy, if you come to embrace our culture in the positive aspects, not the bureaucracy. Please don't embrace the bureaucracy. Fight it. I think that the country should be open to anyone and everyone that wants to come and develop this tiny little piece of land in the Atlantic Ocean.
Well said. Thank you very much, Daniel. And it is a good question. And I understand why you've asked it, Farouk. You know, this is the heading and the link for an article in the Telegraph. For those in the process of moving this year, should this be a concern? And I would agree with Daniel. No, I think the Telegraph has kind of put its finger on the pulse and found unrest. And you'd struggle to find any country in the world at the moment where the electorate weren't unhappy. So there is an unhappiness definitely in the population, but that's the wrong target there. And I think if you felt uncomfortable, Farouk, about the idea that, you know, it's not, I think one of the expressions that was used was high-end immigrants were to blame. I don't think that's the case at all. Would you agree, Daniel?
No, not at all, because people are pointing the finger to blue-collar workers as well.
Yes.
I was there's a news report just passing on RTP1 talking about the Rua do Bem Formoso, where a lot of Bangladeshi and Pakistani blue-collar workers are. And they're talking about the problems of that specific street in Lisbon. So the blame gets distributed equally, I would say, between digital nomads or people, blue-collar people that just come here. They struggle. They send almost the majority of their money back to their home countries. And people say, oh, but they live 20 people in just one house. Well, it's lack of housing. If they had proper housing, they wouldn't need to live 20 people in just packed and rammed in just one house. So I don't think that digital nomads are to blame, as well as I don't think that the golden visas were to blame for property prices increasing in Lisbon.
Yep.
This is just well, the press needs a name to put to something, and a blame. Someone needs to get the blame
Yep.
for what's happening and to vent out the disgraces of the world. Today it's digital nomads. Tomorrow it's going to be the manifestação de interesse because of blue-collar people. The day before it was the golden visa. This has happened before. It's just the press doing its thing.
Very good. Thanks, Daniel. And there you go, Farouk. I hope that has calmed you somewhat, because I must be, you know, it is awful, I think, when you're reading these sorts of things at a great distance and your future is at stake. So I hope we've managed to alleviate some stress for you there. Thank you, Peder, for being here. Thank you, Debbie, who's saying, yes, University or Universidad of Coimbra just got a very high rating. Let me find the article. That's in the chat. Very helpful of you. University of Coimbra once again against the best higher education institutions in the world. There you go. Philomena went there. Our very own Philomena went there, of course. And we've got La Ronda. Thank you for being here as well this evening. And a couple of questions. Oh, Denise also glad to hear about Coimbra's reputation there. Right. A tax question. Not sure if we can do this tonight, but we'll see. We'll do our best. From Debbie, my retirement income is not high. My US taxes are very easy. I want to do my Portuguese taxes myself, but where do I start? I said, you're busy tonight, Daniel. I'm going to come to you for this. I simply don't make enough to pay a high professional fee. What are Debbie's chances as a foreigner of getting onto the portal and sorting her taxes out herself, would you say, as a layperson?
Debbie, I'm a lawyer. I understand the Portuguese law, and I pay my accountant to do my taxes.
So there's your answer. Right.
And my income is only generated in Portugal. I don't have income generated abroad. Right. My advice is the following. Probably your income source is the same every year from now onward. So pay a professional to do your taxes properly, at least in the first year. And then you can see what he has done and then copy it in the next years. Because if your income streams are not changing, if the type of income is not changing, you can mimic that in the next years. But at least for the first time, pay someone to do it properly. I'll give you the example of what we do in our law firm. Let's say that a client has income generated in Portugal, rental income. We are more than suited to deliver the tax returns of that client here. But once the situation gets nuanced, that the client has income in Portugal and income abroad, we usually recommend to hire someone that has that expertise. Because if you do mess up, it can be a costly error, and then fighting the Portuguese taxman is cumbersome, is time consuming, and usually to fight the Portuguese taxman you need to pay first. Let's say that you did an error and at the end of the day they decide that you're owing 5K, and you know that you're not owing it because the law states that you're not owing it, but the people in the tax bureau have the understanding that you're owing them 5K. You need to pay the 5K as a deposit, and then you can fight them. So errors, mistakes with the taxman can be costly. It can be a burden. In my opinion, pay initially for a professional to do it. Shop around. If you avoid big places like Lisbon and Porto, if you go outside of these two cities, you'll find professionals that are not as expensive. But my advice is, go with someone that has the transnational experience and deliver tax returns in Portugal and in the US, because otherwise they may do the same mistakes as you may eventually do. And the convention or the agreement to avoid double taxation between the US and Portugal is it is a complex document. So hire the necessary expertise, because you'll not be spending money, you will be saving money at the end of the day.
Yes, a good point there. And the other assumption might be, Debbie, is that you'll be paying a lot of money like you might do to a CPA in the US. I think for some of the simplest tax services in Portugal, you might be surprised at how good value they are. And that will be a saving in the long term if the worst case scenario that happens, I think Daniel is referring to. And also, check out the business directory and the professionals in there at expatsportugal.com as well for such professionals, Debbie. It may well be worth going professional and saving yourself a lot of pain in the long term. Thank you for that. John, if we're retired, no earned income, and derive funds for living from dividends, interest and investment, draw down standard investment accounts and US tax advantaged accounts, what goes into calculating income for Portuguese tax rate tables? And Steve is really answering how I would answer there. Go to Pedro Franco at EI. He's not with us tonight, but you can find him at EI. He has helped us immensely, says Steve. Thank you for this testimonial, Steve, with understanding how our Australian self-funded pension is taxed. An extremely favourable outcome if his understanding is correct and is confirmed by the PT tax authorities. And of course, as we've noted before, Pedro will speak to your native accountant on a three-way call with you, which is a really good service. And I don't think it's by any means, as Steve is suggesting, it only confined to Australia. He'll do that as well with UK and US tax representatives. So go speak to Pedro, and you can find him in our business directory there. John, is it important to give my NIF when making purchases? A classic question. And I'm going to go to Nuno for this one, because Nuno laughed when you were talking about the taxation system just now, I think, Daniel, and as did Joao. But I think Nuno might have something to say on this. Is it important to give my NIF when making purchases? I'm on a D7 passive income visa, so no income from Portugal, just my husband's USA pension and social security. Why, in that moment in the supermarket, do some people say yes and some people say no, Nuno?
Okay, so no one can do whatever with my NIF. Okay, the only way that you can do is helping me with my taxes, because if you tell my NIF to the supermarket people to put in the bill this number, automatically they have their system connected with the taxes system, and they will assign that expense to myself, and I could deduct a little portion of it to my taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So the NIF is like that my name is Nuno and your name is Carl, so it's the same, but expressed in a number.
Yes, absolutely. It's an individual
No
tax
worries
credit.
at all. No worries at all. Nevertheless, one thing that, yes, you need to be careful is about your IBAN. So your bank account number, identification, be very careful. This number should not be shared easily with everyone. Okay.
Okay.
So
So be
take this
careful with that one.
yeah,
Right.
with
Okay.
the IBAN.
So it's
But
not
with
the
the
same that it's not only good things can happen if you give out your IBAN number.
yeah,
It
no,
is with the NIF number, not with the IBAN. Okay, very good.
right.
And so on the point though of is it important to give the NIF? It's for tax relief, isn't it? And we've just missed the deadline for validation. Although Pedro, when he was on last time, said it can be done manually, so people didn't need to panic. And I don't know if you met the deadline, Astrid, or not, because it came up. I think you received a text about that whilst we were on a couple of weeks ago. It is about tax relief. And there are allowances, and I think we'll probably have a deeper dive into that, or talk to Pedro specifically. How about that, Astrid? That we talk to Pedro specifically about NIF strategy and tactics, and the amounts that you might want to claim for, and then just forget about it in a supermarket rather than have that. It sounds like it's like you have a doubt every time you go to a supermarket or somebody asks you, Kathy. So I think we need to get to the bottom of it in some way. But nothing bad will happen if you just do keep giving your NIF. But we might want a bit more sort of strategic insight with the amounts that are allowable across a number of headings with your expenses. So thanks, Nuno, on that. Thanks for the question, Kathy. And we have, Daniel, we have allayed fears for Farouk, which I'm glad we've done earlier on with that Telegraph article, Naughty Telegraph in the UK. My daughter, says Tamara, is a dual US Portuguese citizen and was planning on moving here with her family in about 3 years. They're currently rethinking this and may want to move here sooner. Does anyone know if her husband is eligible to work here right away, or does he need to wait until he has a residency card in hand? Please, Daniel, you answered that. Could you voice that for us?
Yes, so the answer is yes, you can work from Portugal, and the same goes for any family member of a EU national. So let's say that a US national is married with a Spanish person and they both come to Portugal. As long as the Spanish person registered themselves in Portugal as a EU resident and the spouse is living here, the spouse can start working from the get-go. Although obtaining a residency permit is somewhat slow in Portugal, unfortunately, because of the delays of IMA, the person that is living here, that is a foreigner, that is married with a EU national, cannot be discriminated in any way or sense. What can occur nonetheless is that companies may be a bit resistant on hiring that person because you're not able to produce a residency permit straight away. So if the person is working remotely to a company in the US or elsewhere, that's not a problem. But if the person is working for a Portuguese company or wants to work for a Portuguese company, then it's a bit more difficult to obtain a job position until until that person gets his residency permit.
Right.
But nonetheless, if a company is able to or wanting to hire, that's totally feasible and legal. And then it's just a question of waiting for the residency permit to be issued. But the person can hit the ground running and be hired straight away.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Daniel, for that. Tamray is thanking you as well in the chat. Debbie, glad, although out of town and missing the deadline on validation of the NIF allowances, good to know it can be done manually. And I think maybe, yeah, if we can have a special with Pedro on that, I think that would be a pretty good theme for a webinar or a separate recording with him there. Going over to YouTube now, let's see what the questions are coming up over there and comments. Gina's there and loves you, Daniel and EI. Great advice, Daniel. I am the same as you. No way. I have Pedro who will do my taxes. So yes, not self assessment or self certifying or doing it. Gina's not going to dare go in the portal alone without professional help. We're staying with you, Daniel. You're a busy man tonight. When buying a property fully with personal funds, says Melissa, About how long does the process take? What is the soonest that the purchase can be done? Thanks from Melissa. As a man who handles conveyancing of properties in
Yes.
Portugal, what's your view on that, Daniel?
That's actually our main area. Property acquisitions in Portugal is probably 50% of our workload at the current time, and it's indeed our main area. I would say the quickest deal that we've done was in around 15 days since the time
Wow.
that the offer was accepted until the time that we signed the deed. But if a client asks me what is the recommended time that should be inserted in the promissory purchase agreement for property acquisition buying cash without a bank, is 30 days, because there's always something to sort out. And it's rare the house in Portugal that is put in the market that is fully and 100% ready to be sold. Usually there's documents that are missing, there's documents that need to be corrected, there's furniture that needs to be removed, the owners are still living in the property, so a lot of people will put their properties out in the market to just test the waters, and then an offer comes, and then they start handling the things that they need. So quickest that we've done was 15 days. I would say a cash offer normal is 30 days. But if the seller wants an extended period, can be more. If it's an offer with a bank loan, then my advice is minimum 3 months. We usually close around 2 months with a bank once there's a loan entailed. But if something goes south with one bank, we need the extra time to, well, take care of the loan with one other bank that things may be a bit smoother. So 1 month cash offer, 3 months with a bank loan. All right.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. Global Nobles, lovely to see you on YouTube. Good evening to you. Thank you for being here this evening. Daniel for president as well, by the way, over on YouTube. But are you interested in that, Daniel? He's still there. You've got a validation for president.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute and I was
really
laughing.
quickly.
I'm not interested to be the president. I've reached the position that I want. I'm the administrator. That's a very posh way of telling the manager of my firm. That's about it. I'm where I want to be.
Okay, fantastic. You can't be persuaded, Gina.
Nope.
30 days, good to know. Thank you, Peder. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel is not a fool, says Laronda. He's not, it's a barge pole. He's not going into the portal alone, and he's not going to go for president. Steve Flack. Now, I'm not sure if you can address this, Steve, but there's a great question over on YouTube. You know, when you go to pay with your credit card abroad, the question here from Gina, thank you again, another question from Gina. When using a credit card and it asks for euros or dollars, what is cheaper for a US citizen? Would you care to address this when spending on a credit card abroad, the best way to deal with this? Because you can get really badly stung like this, can't you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it will depend per card. That's going to be the problem. Is going to be as to what rates you get given by your provider. That's like similar with banks and things like that. You know, some banks do give good rates, not many, which is obviously why we were around, to help, just to plug us a little bit more. And it really will depend. That will be the main thing for me, depending on whether you get any charges from that card as well, just for using it abroad.
Yeah.
So it's going to just be, per card, per charge, whatever they use. It's very hard for me to say, one's better than the other.
Would you say it's useful to obviously do a big deal with you on the big amounts, transfer the money into the bank, and there may be some for sort of daily spending cash onto the Wises and the Revoluts of the world, where you can spend in the currency of the country that you're in?
Yeah, you could do. Look, you say, do you convert? We can pay it to wherever you need to. That's the thing. So if it's just your property purchase, we can send it straight to your lawyer, to your seller, whatever.
Yeah.
We can send them to cards like that. So then you can use it for your daily spending. We can make as many payments as you need as well. So even if you say if you buy 20,000 euros, you make 30, 50 payments out of that, it will add up to the amount of euros. That's the good thing about us. We don't charge you per payment or anything like that. So it's all, it's all there for you to use.
Very good. Okay. So there's a strategy for you for doing that, Gina. Hope that helps. One more question for Daniel, and then I'll go to our kind of cultural Portugal culture and location question. And I'm going to connect that to the lunar eclipse that's coming up tomorrow morning. Right. Applied for nationality. This is for you, Daniel. October 2023. Born in Canada. Both parents born and married in Portugal. Any way to expedite my application, which sits in Lisbon in some big pile? Now, can I connect this question, Daniel, to a conversation I had with someone in a cafe today who was talking about, getting a visa. Anyone who says they can get you an advantage in these big piles in various government offices, that just doesn't work, does it? Everyone's up against the same queue, basically. So there's not much we can do for this YouTube questioner, I suspect, except they've got to wait.
Well, if it's too good to be true, have a serious suspicions about it, because it's either they cannot keep their promises or it's corruption, and I don't want any of it, to be honest.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
In my law practice, the only way that we've seen nationality processes being expedited is that if you can, with documentation, justify the reason why you need to have the process expedited. Let's say that it's health reasons. Let's say that it's a job offer, stuff like that. And even so, we've delivered justifications before that were not accepted by the Portuguese registry. So fast track, normal fast track doesn't exist. And eventually, if you have the correct documentation to justify, and it's a really a situation that deserves to be expedited, eventually the Portuguese registry will do it, but otherwise they'll just need to wait, and the normal waiting time is around 3 years. Although we're seeing some good noises coming from the registry in terms of the processes being a bit more expedited if they are delivered by lawyers, because we scan all the documents and we deliver them with the paperwork already done and prepared to the registry here. So that is expediting the processes a little bit. There's still a big backlog, and they are supposed to be using AI to assess the documents, but this will take time because the pile is massive and substantial. So I don't see any easy way out of apart from waiting, unfortunately.
Okay, and beware of anybody who suggests they can push you through the bureaucracy.
Yep, people get arrested for that. So
absolutely, yes, and it should be fair, and it should be equal to all people, shouldn't it, in the process? So thank you for that reiteration of that point. Right, we're drawing to a close now this evening. Unless you have a question, you haven't asked it yet. I don't know what you're waiting for. Pop it. This is the town hall. This is the dream team. Stick it in the chat, and you can do that over here and on YouTube as well. At the moment, we prioritize people, of course, over here on this call, the Expats Portugal members. There's going to be a lunar eclipse tomorrow, I understand, and it's going to be happening at about 6 or 7 tomorrow morning. This year there will be 2 lunar eclipses, I'm reading in the Portugal news, and 2 partial solar eclipses, so quite a lot of eclipse action. And I think our ancestors used to fear these moments, quite understandably, with the first lunar eclipse occurring on Friday, the 14th of March, which it is tomorrow, which will be visible in Portugal. Now, the question I want to ask our lovely panel members here, and I'll go straight to João Amaral, whose baby is very popular this evening as well. So thank you to both of you. If, João, you wanted to go and look at the eclipse in Portugal, what's your favorite rural area for seeing the night sky and the beautiful stars above Portugal? Do you have a favorite location in Portugal for that, where there isn't too much street lighting?
Of course I do. Serra da Estrela.
Right.
Serra da Estrela is the spot.
Right, okay. All right. If it's snowing, you can't go up there, but I think we're okay at the moment, aren't we?
At the moment, it's okay.
Right.
But it's cloudy, so I think I don't know if we will see it or not.
Right. Okay. So you're up to speed on this, obviously. Are there places to stay up there? Are you talking about Tor, for example?
In Tor, no, you don't have places. But down a little bit down in Penhas da Saúde, there are hotels and places to sleep. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Serra da Estrela.
Just let me just say one thing that I forgot saying last intervention.
Yes.
I want to thank a lot again with our partnership between Expats Portugal and Horiscar. because last Saturday I received another expats members, a lovely couple. Okay, they came to me to see a car that they want. It's not in our stock. I went to pick up a car from our partner. Okay, they see the car, they test drive it. We closed the deal, so I'm very glad to another closed deal between Expats Portugal and Roriscar. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for mentioning that. That's really good to know. It's lovely to hear about these wonderful connections that are
Thank
being
you.
made. Thanks, João. See you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Alexandra, where would you go? Do you like the great outdoors of Portugal? And what would be a good place for you to have a look at this lunar eclipse?
Well, I would say maybe, yeah, you really need to get outside Lisbon and the city lights or the big city. I live in Lisbon, so I would say maybe you could go a little bit further down and maybe to, I don't know, maybe in somewhere near the beach where you don't have many lights to see the moon. What time is it?
Sesimbra. It's gonna be near dawn, I think. So it's between 6 and 7 tomorrow. But I'm thinking Sesimbra that you might be speaking about if you're a Lisboeta.
Yeah, you can go to Sesimbra, yeah, as long as there is not many lights. Yeah, I think you're going to, but at 6 or 7 o'clock, you're not going to see much because it's already daylight, isn't it?
Okay, all right. Well, maybe we're not going to see it after all. Thanks for being here. Great to see you, Alexandra.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Steve, I'm not sure you'll have a comment on this, but it's a good opportunity to say to Sarah, look, I need to come over and watch this lunar eclipse. I need to stay on your sofa for a couple of days to see that. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for answering that question for John in the chat there. And thank you, Daniel, for that quickie with Diana. It's funny, isn't it? We're just finishing and all the questions start coming in. And Setúbal says, Feliz de Serra da Rábida. To see the eclipse. That's a good call as well. Not far from Sesimbra. You can go and have your breakfast in Sesimbra after being in the Serra da Rábida. Let's go to you, Daniel, on that. I'm sure you've got a view on this. On a boat might be quite a good place to see the eclipse, right?
Indeed, you stole my answer. On a sailboat in the middle of the ocean, that would be probably the best setting for me, indeed. So, and it's I do recommend to anyone that has the possibility of going into a boat in the night and seeing the sky once you get away from big cities, because it's something out of this world. We are so used in living in big cities with a lot of light pollution, and when you are in the middle of the sea, you don't have any light pollution, of course, at all, and you just see the stars. It's amazing. So
I bet it is.
Indeed,
I bet it's
from
amazing.
a boat.
Yeah,
You're
very good.
on the spot.
With Captain Reis at the helm there. Fantastic.
Yes.
Last but not least, I know our Boy Scout here, Nunu, will have a great answer for this. And I'm sure you've been with like scout troops who've looked up at the night sky, maybe for the first time, and it's just been amazing for them, Nunu. Where would you recommend in Portugal?
I'm with João Amaral, so yes, definitely Serra da Estrela. But what I don't understand is why you said that there are no places to stay there. Just put in your backpack a tarp to make a shelter,
right,
and a warm sleeping bag, and you have plenty of places over there to stay.
All right. Okay, so after Alcobaça, Astrid, we're going to the Serra da Estrela range with tarps and sleeping bags, and it's going to be an amazing weekend with the leadership of Nunu. Thanks, Nunu.
Expats Portugal camping. Yeah.
Can you imagine
I'll be up for that.
Jerry's going to love it. We'll put Jerry's name down for that because he loves a bit of camping, I've heard.
I told you, Carl, my idea of camping is the Sheraton Hotel and open the window.
They don't have one of those at the Serra da Estrela mountain range, Jerry. Not yet, anyway. Okay, Astrid, over to you.
Talking about the meetups, Carl, I think there's only a few seats left on the bus tour that's happening on the 12th of April in Coimbra. So if you are wanting to come along, please get in there and secure those last few tickets. We'd love to have it all full. It's going to be a lot of fun. And for those who are in the WhatsApp group for the Coimbra meetup, if you haven't gotten the details yet for the lunch that your friend, Carl, Ben, is putting on.
Yeah. The great Ben.
Yeah, so he's putting on the next day. So if you've missed that message, reach out to me and I can share it with you. But there is an extra lunch happening on the Sunday.
Fantastic.
organised by somebody not related to Expats Portugal, but would be good to meet some fellow expats at that lunch too.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks Dream Team. You've been brilliant, and we'll see you all again next